I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the News du Jour. I have some really exciting news for you guys. So I don't watch the podcast charts very closely. It's just, not something that's been on my radar. Of course, I'm trying to grow our following all the time and reach new women specifically who need a calmer space to consume the news. But I found out the other day from doing a little research for a project I'm doing that we have actually ranked in the top 100 daily news podcasts in America on the Apple chart. And I had previously thought we were the highest we had ranked was 121 on the charts, but it turns out we have ranked 65 in the past. And I literally had no idea. So this is very exciting news for me. Just being in the top 100 is insane. And especially because this business is completely bootstrapped, completely homegrown, and just spread by word of mouth. I have run very few ads, and when I have, it's not been a big ad spend, where we spend little tiny chunks of change here and there on ads, and we're making moves to really level everything up. But that said, I'm so proud of us for being number 65. That is a new record, and I'm so proud. So I just had to say that at the top of the podcast episode. And then to transition, we have a very exciting news day as well. I knew going over Trump's various legal battles in Tuesday's episode was probably a good idea because they've all been simmering slowly for quite a while now. But I had no idea big movement would come this quickly. We have a big update in terms of one of the cases. But before we launch into that, I wanted to give you guys a quick update, and then we'll dig into that bigger story. Let's dive in. So first up, I just wanted to touch on gas prices maybe having plateaued. So gas prices are something that are important and relevant to pretty much all of us. Even if you live in a big city, if you take taxis or Ubers, you too can be affected by fluctuating gas prices. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but gas prices had steadily been going back down as of late. You don't hear as much about that as you do when prices are going up and people get to complain. But gas prices have been falling back down for exactly 99 days in a row now. But that just hit a standstill, just shy of 100 days. So this could be a sign that things are kind of stabilizing and that this is where we can expect them to kind of hover for a while. As you guys probably know, there are a lot of different factors that go into predicting the price of oil and gas. So things can really change at any time, but experts are predicting that this is likely where things will hang out for a while. Now, on to our big news break. Okay, guys, walking through all of the different Trump legal battles is definitely already paying off. I had a feeling things were going to start moving soon. So many of these cases have just been in a holding pattern. And you guys, the dam is starting to break. And of course, our patrons hear about these things first. If you want a notification to come up on your phone so that you can hear important news like this first, you can sign up today at www.patreon.com/sugarfree media and keep up with the news a bit more as it happens. I promise you guys, I don't flood you with notifications. My current patrons can tell you it's only for stuff that I genuinely think you would care about, and that's really important. Anywho, if you have not listened to Tuesday's episode, I would definitely recommend going back and listening to that so that you can get the lay of the land with all of Trump's 6 current court, or let's just say legal battles. Not all of them are in court yet. But this one, for those who did listen, is the New York State one, not the Manhattan one. 2 different things. But the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James, has actually sued President Trump himself. Letitia James is making the case that Trump and 3 of his children lied to lenders and insurance agencies by billions, and then undervalued his assets at opportune moments. She called the fraud, quote, staggering and, quote, sprawling. The lawsuit documentation itself is 220 pages long. These charges seek to make it so that Trump can no longer practice business in the state of New York. An insane moment in time, given that his name has graced buildings in that town since 1984. Trump used to be synonymous with New York, and vice versa to an extent. And now he stands to lose what he values the most, his empire. As an example of what she found, her records show that the Trump organization, Trump himself, Trump's family, did things like getting an appraisal, for example, on their 40 Wall Street building. The appraisal would say that the building was worth about $200 million, for example. Then they would turn around and claim to outside groups that the appraisal had come in at about $400 million. Double. He would then get more money from lenders and insurance companies, or better terms like lower interest rates and better premiums and so on. Some he even valued, you guys, at 6 times what appraisers had just told him that the buildings were worth. Letitia James said that her lawsuit details over 200 false or misleading claims like this one. Another example is that Trump had valued his Westchester Country Club as if he charged these huge initiation fees that he did not charge. He also proposed that different properties, such as Mar-a-Lago, as one example, could be developed for residential living, even though he had already signed agreements limiting his ability to do so. The examples go on and on. The DA's office estimates that Trump's family acquired approximately $250 million fraudulently in the state of New York. And Miss James wants those funds surrendered. She also requested that someone be appointed to monitor the family businesses while this lawsuit plays out to make sure that they don't take their money to a different state. She would also like for them to be barred from purchasing any real estate in New York for the time being. Letitia James cannot file criminal charges from her office. This is important to know. But she has compiled her findings and is passing those documents along to the Manhattan federal prosecutors. Should she win this lawsuit, Donald Trump, Eric Trump, Ivanka Trump, and Donald Trump Jr. would all be barred from doing business in New York State. They would also be unable to serve as an officer or a director of any New York-based company. Is his mass of wealth accumulated through business acumen or fraud and trickery? This investigation, you guys, started back in 2018 and is finally coming to a head. But it may be difficult to prove these things in court because, after all, the banks seem to be somewhat complicit in all of this. Real estate values can be subjective, and Trump famously does not use email or put things in writing. But with example after example of this type of behavior, I'm sure that Miss James weighed her options carefully and decided to proceed with this lawsuit after having all the proof she could get her hands on. This dramatic turn of events will play out slowly, and we will be here with all the details for you guys. Stay tuned. And lastly, for today, we're going to discuss a couple things to do with Russia. So, is Russia entering a new phase in this war? So, remember how I told you guys that Putin was considering a draft in Russia? Well, he's not gone that far yet, but he has made the choice to call up 300,000 of Russia's military reserve troops. This could signal to the Russian people that this invasion is not, as Putin has been painting it, some small peacekeeping effort. Because if it was, why would he need all of those backup reserves called up? Plus, if he needs these troops, it's likely that he's been losing troops at an alarming rate as well, which the Russian people have to be aware of when their sons and daughters are coming home injured or killed. It's just sad that anyone had to die in a fight that shouldn't even be a fight. Biden also asked the UN to step in. So this is something I want to touch on. So Biden has now gone to the UN and asked them to step in when it comes to Russia and Ukraine and their conflict. He asserted that Russia is actually violating what the UN stands for as a whole. President Zelensky also spoke via a pre-recorded video message. He asked alongside President Biden that Russia be punished for their war crimes and for trying to take the land of a neighboring nation. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "You'll never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks." If you enjoyed this episode, please consider becoming a patron of our podcast. For $7.99 a month, you can unlock tons of perks like breaking news text messages so that you're never out of the loop. Tons of bonus episodes are already up there ready for you to binge, and a discussion board full of networking opportunities and much more. Go to www.patreon.com/sugarfree media today to become a patron. This is the best way to support our show. Our patrons make News du Jour possible. But a couple other ways to support our podcast are rate and review on whatever podcast platform you use to listen, share on your social media, you have influence, tell your friends, family, and colleagues that you love News du Jour and why you listen. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram, just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok, and sugarfree_media on Twitter. We also have a weekend newsletter called Dreamers Digest that's full of dreamy content recommendations for your weekend and a life update from yours truly. Sign up today on our website, www.sugarfreemedia.co. Our music is by Joey Lavoie and Nicholas Foster. Our cover art is by Hannah Pierce Photography. Our Sugar Free Media logo is by Catherine Jezik Designs. Any twinkling or little footsteps you might hear in the background are by my dog, Rhett. He's a rescue pup and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour. Broadcasting from Oklahoma.